Dr. Alex Carter had always imagined that being the first human medical envoy to an alien world would be thrilling. Yet nothing in his training prepared him for the stark white corridors of the hospital station orbiting the small, gas giant planet of Solaris. The station floated silently among the stars, its metal panels glinting against the distant sun. Alex stepped carefully into the main atrium, adjusting the straps of his medical bag. His boots clicked softly against the polished floor, the sound echoing in the vast emptiness. Around him, alien patients drifted in anti-gravity pods, their translucent skin pulsing with colors that Alex couldn't name. Their faces were strange, with eyes set at odd angles, mouths that moved in slow, precise motions, but all of them looked unwell. A soft hum filled the room, and Alex felt a prickling sensation in the back of his neck. Then he saw her. Zyla. She was unlike any alien he had encountered. Standing taller than most, her presence was commanding. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her eyes glowed faintly blue, full of intelligence and something else. Something Alex couldn't immediately identify. She moved with an elegance that seemed almost human yet utterly foreign. "Dr. Carter," she said in a voice that was both melodic and sharp. "Welcome to the Solaris Medical Station." Alex nodded, unsure of what else to say. He had expected formal greetings, perhaps alien etiquette, but what came next made him freeze in disbelief. "Marry me or die," Zyla said plainly, her glowing eyes locking onto his. For a moment, Alex thought he had misheard. The words sounded like a cruel joke, but the calm certainty in her voice made his stomach tighten. I'm sorry," he stammered. "Did you just say?" "Yes," Zyla replied. "It is your only choice." Alex's mind raced. Is this a test? A cultural misunderstanding, or a threat? He glanced around the room. Other alien staff moved calmly, as if nothing unusual had happened. There were no weapons visible, yet the tension was real, like an invisible cord tightening around him. "I don't understand," he said carefully. "I came here to help your patients, not this." Zyla tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes studying him as if weighing his worth. "It is not personal," she said. "It is the custom of my people. Refusal equals death." Alex felt his heart hammering. He had read countless reports on alien cultures, but nothing had mentioned anything like this. To humans, the idea of forced marriage under threat of death was unthinkable. Yet here, in this station orbiting a distant world, it was real and immediate. He forced himself to breathe deeply. Panic would not help. Humans survived in impossible situations because they could think, adapt, and improvise. Aliens, despite their power, often could not. That was Alex's only advantage. "Can you explain the reasoning?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "Maybe there's another way, some alternative." Zyla's expression remained unreadable, but there was a faint pause. "The ritual saves lives," she said finally. "One chosen, bound to the other, carries the life force of those in danger. Refusal interrupts the flow. Death follows." Alex blinked. Life force? This is bizarre, but his mind immediately shifted into problem-solving mode. Alien biology was complex, yes, but it operated on logic. Patterns, energy flows, cause and effect. If he could understand the mechanism, maybe he could find a loophole. "All right," he said slowly. "I need to know exactly how this life-saving ritual works. Can you show me the patients who require it?" Zyla's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. "Perhaps, if you wish to attempt it. But understand, failure will be fatal." Alex swallowed hard but nodded. "Humans survive because we never give up. Even here, on a planet no one in Earth history has walked, even surrounded by beings that could destroy us with a thought, we adapt." Zyla led him through a series of corridors that twisted in ways that made Alex's stomach drop. Gravity shifted, subtly as they passed, forcing him to adjust his balance constantly. Finally, they arrived at a chamber where 3 alien patients floated, their translucent bodies pulsing in strange rhythms. "These are the patients," Zyla said. Their life energies are failing. The ritual, your marriage, would stabilize them. Alex examined the setup. Wires, tubes, and floating crystals hummed in the air. He could feel the strange vibrations as if the room itself were alive. He didn't understand the full science, but he could see a pattern, a flow of energy that could, in theory, be redirected or stabilized by precise intervention. "Tell me what happens if I refuse," Alex asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Zyla's eyes glowed brighter. "They die. You die. Others may die. The ritual is non-negotiable." Alex's mind worked quickly. He had seconds, maybe minutes, to come up with a plan. He couldn't ignore the ritual entirely. These were lives at stake. But perhaps there was a way to fulfill the ritual's purpose without surrendering himself completely. "I will try to save them," he said, his voice calm, measured. "But we need rules. No one dies while we test alternatives." Zyla regarded him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she nodded slightly. "A human. Clever. You may proceed. But the risk is yours alone." Alex felt a surge of determination. Humans survived, because we think, adapt, and act when all seems lost. This was no different. The stakes were higher, yes, but the rules of survival were the same. He stepped forward, his hands hovering over the floating energy conduits. He studied the flow, memorizing patterns, timing the pulses. For the first time, he felt a strange thrill. Humans had never encountered a system like this, but that only made their ingenuity matter more. Zyla watched silently, and Alex realized something important. She was testing him, yes, but also hoping, perhaps even trusting, that he could succeed. Humans never give up, Alex thought. And sometimes, that is enough to survive anything, even an ultimatum from an alien nurse. As he prepared to intervene, the pulsing lights reflected in his eyes. In this chamber of life and death, a human stood alone but not helpless. The challenge had begun, and Alex Carter intended to win. Dr. Alex Carter's mind raced as he stood in the pulsing chamber. The alien patients floated silently, their translucent bodies shimmering in shades he could hardly name. The hum of energy around them was constant, almost alive, and the realization sank in. If he failed, it wouldn't just be him. It would be all of them. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. Panic was a luxury he couldn't afford. Humans thrived because they thought under pressure, and if aliens thought humans were fragile, that was their mistake. Zyla hovered nearby, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "Time is limited," she said. "Your choice is not negotiable. The ritual is simple. Union of life forces ensures stability. Refusal ends in death." Alex nodded slowly. "I understand the purpose," he said, "but I need details. How does the union work? Why is it necessary?" Zyla's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. "It is ancient. My species believes that a chosen bond directs energy into those in need. Without it, life ceases. It is unbroken." Alex studied the setup again. Tubes, crystals, and floating conduits pulsed with light. The patterns were rhythmic, almost musical. He couldn't fully grasp the biology or physics, but he recognized structure, logic, and a system that could be studied. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "there is a way to replicate the energy flow without literal union. Humans have often solved problems differently than expected." Zyla's eyes flickered. "Most species fail to understand this ritual," she said. "They cannot think beyond tradition. You may have a chance." Alex allowed himself a small, cautious smile. A chance. That was all humans needed. He moved, closer to the largest of the floating patients. Its pulsing energy seemed unstable, flickering like a weak flame. Using his human medical training and intuition, he began analyzing the conduits, tapping patterns into a portable device. He monitored the energy flows, charting what seemed to stabilize or destabilize the patient. Zyla watched silently. She had expected fear, trembling, hesitation. Instead, Alex worked with precision, making adjustments, predicting responses, experimenting, while maintaining safety. His confidence wasn't arrogance, it was careful calculation, the hallmark of human problem-solving. "I see," Alex muttered. "It's about timing. Flow must match energy peaks. There's a window where intervention can succeed without ritual, if done perfectly." Zyla's glowing eyes widened slightly. "You understand more than expected," she said. "Perhaps humans are different." Alex gave a faint shrug. "We survive in ways others don't. That's all." The room hummed, louder. The other patient's pulses flickered more intensely. Time was short. He knew Zyla's species would act fast if they sensed hesitation. Yet the human instinct to think, not react blindly, guided him. He carefully connected his device to the nearest crystal. It wasn't a full union, just enough to mimic the flow, redirect the energy in a way that mirrored the ritual. He adjusted, rechecked, recalculated, and then waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the largest patient's pulses steadied. The flickering slowed, then vanished. Its translucent skin glowed evenly. Alex exhaled slowly. Zyla's eyes glowed brighter, her usual calm authority giving way to surprise. "Impossible. You saved it without the union." Alex wiped sweat from his brow. "It's not impossible. It's logical. Patterns can be followed, energy can be redirected, life can be preserved. Humans do it every day in ways other species cannot imagine." Zyla floated closer. "Your species adapts under pressure. Cleverness. Unexpected. Perhaps there is min humans than my elders am." The chamber was quiet now, the hum of energy still lingering in the background like a heartbeat. Dr. Alex Carter stepped back from the floating patients, his body tense but his mind alert. He had stabilized 2 of the 3 patients. The third was weaker, but responding to his interventions. Every flicker of light, every subtle change in energy flow, told him something new about alien biology. Something that he could use. Zyla hovered beside him, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim chamber light. For the first time, Alex noticed a subtle softness in her gaze. She was still an imposing figure, still dangerous in her authority, but there was curiosity there now. "You have unusual skill," Zyla said, her voice quieter than before. "Most humans would panic and fail." Alex smiled faintly. "We survive by thinking, not panicking, that's all." Zyla tilted her head. "Perhaps more than that. You adapt, you improvise, you learn quickly. Your species is not like others." Alex paused, considering her words. She wasn't just observing, she was analyzing him, gauging his ability. He had noticed subtle cues before, the way she moved, the way she adjusted her glow in response to his actions. Now he realized something more. Zyla admired humans, though she would never admit it to her council. "Why do you help me?" he asked carefully. "You don't have to." Zyla's eyes dimmed slightly. "I am bound by rules. But I have seen your kind before in the records of my people. Humans have solved impossible problems, saved worlds, changed outcomes when no other species could. I wanted to see if it is true." Alex felt a flicker of hope. If Zyla was secretly rooting for him, that meant there might be a way to turn the ritual's threat into an advantage. Humans thrived in situations others thought hopeless. He would need to use every ounce of his ingenuity to survive, and perhaps even gain Zyla as an ally. "Then we work together," Alex said. "We stabilize the patients and find a solution that saves everyone." Zyla regarded him silently for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. But you must understand, the Council watches. One misstep and it will be fatal." Alex stepped toward the weakest patient. The translucent figure flickered like a candle in the wind. Carefully, he observed the energy flows, noting the irregular patterns. The human mind was trained to recognize patterns, to improvise, to anticipate. And that was what he needed now. To combine logic with intuition. "Here," Alex said, tapping a conduit, "we can adjust the flow gradually. Mimic the ritual without the union itself. It will require precise timing and constant observation." Scylla floated closer, her eyes glowing softly. "You believe you can replicate it?" "I believe humans can adapt," he said simply. "We always find a way." For hours, they worked, together. Scylla showed him the mechanics of the ritual, the energy conduits, the timing of pulses, while Alex applied human intuition and problem-solving. Sometimes the alien system shifted unexpectedly. Alex adapted. Sometimes the energy surged dangerously. He recalculated. Every time, he found a way to stabilize the patients without breaking protocol or his own principles. Scylla's admiration grew quietly. She had expected failure, yet this human persisted. Unlike most species her people dealt with, humans didn't just follow instructions. They innovated. They analyzed. They improvised. They survived. And she had to admit, it was remarkable. "You are clever," she said quietly during a brief pause. "Perhaps humans are more than your records suggest." Alex wiped sweat from his brow. "Clever enough to survive." She tilted her head. "Not just survive. You inspire." Alex paused. "Inspire? That's a human trait too. We survive, yes, but we also hope. We find solutions that others can't imagine, and sometimes we inspire others along the way." Scylla considered this. Her people rarely needed inspiration. Their systems were rigid, precise. Creativity was seen as risky, unnecessary. Yet here was a human, defying expectations, stabilizing patients through improvisation, and surviving a ritual that could have killed him. "I see potential in your kind," Scylla said softly. "Perhaps humans can teach us something." Alex nodded. "Maybe. But first we need to finish this. Every second counts." Working side by side, they adjusted the last patient's energy flow. Alex used his device to calculate the pulses, while Scylla provided insight into alien biology. Slowly, the weak patient's glow began to steady, flickers smoothing into a steady rhythm. "You did it," Scylla whispered, her voice barely audible. "All three stable." Alex exhaled, relief washing over him. "We did it. And not just by following the rules, by thinking, adapting, and taking calculated risks." Scylla's eyes glimmered. "You are unlike any other human we observed. Perhaps there is hope for cooperation between our species." Alex smiled. "That's the thing about humans. We survive, yes, but we also teach and learn. And sometimes we turn danger into opportunity." Scylla floated closer, her glow blending with the soft light of the chamber. "You have changed my perspective. The Council may not agree, but perhaps humans are not the fragile species we assumed." Alex nodded. "Fragile? No. Clever, resourceful, and adaptable. That's who we are." For the first time, the tension in the room shifted. Scylla's initial threat, the ritual, the ultimatum, still hung in the background. But now Alex had an ally, one who understood the value of human ingenuity, even if her people did not. "We will need a plan," Alex said, his mind already racing ahead. "The Council will question every step we took. We need evidence, results, and a way to prove that humans can succeed without following every rigid tradition." Scylla considered this. "Very well, I will help, but know this. The Council is relentless. One misstep, and it will be final." Alex nodded. "Then we make no missteps." He glanced at the stabilized patients, their translucent bodies now glowing steadily. Each flicker of light felt like a small victory, a proof that humans could survive, even in situations the galaxy considered impossible. Scylla watched him, her admiration quiet, but undeniable. "Perhaps humans are worthy of respect," she said softly. Alex smiled faintly. We don't need respect to survive. But it helps. The chamber hummed gently, the energy flow stable, the patient safe. But beyond the walls, the alien council's scrutiny remained. Alex knew the real challenge was just beginning. The ritual had been avoided, for now, but the true test of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability was yet to come. And in that quiet chamber, a human and an alien began to work together, forging a bond that neither tradition nor threat could break. The quiet hum of the chamber was broken by a sharp vibration running through the station. Dr. Alex Carter felt the sudden shift immediately. This was no ordinary alert, it was the council. The alien authorities had been watching all along, and now they were coming. Zyla's eyes glowed brighter, a mixture of concern and authority. The council is displeased, she said quietly. They question your methods. Your deviation from tradition is considered dangerous. Alex's stomach tightened. He had anticipated scrutiny, but confrontation with the council meant extreme risk. Failure, refusal, or even perceived arrogance could cost him his life, and perhaps the lives of the patients he had saved. Humans survived in impossible situations, yes, but this was a test unlike any he had faced. They will demand proof of your success, Zyla continued, or they will insist on the ritual being completed. You must choose carefully. Alex nodded, his mind already racing. The council was rigid, but they respected logic and evidence if presented correctly. A hasty move, a miscalculated step, and all would be lost. He glanced at the stabilized patients. Their energy flows were steady for now, but it would take precise demonstration to convince the council that the ritual was unnecessary. Then we prepare a demonstration, Alex said, his voice calm, steady. We show them the outcome, the stabilized patients, and explain the method. Humans survive by evidence, not threats. Zyla studied him, her glowing eyes narrowing. The council will not be persuaded easily. They expect obedience, ritual completion. One failure, and they will act immediately. Alex's lips pressed together. He had faced pressure before, on Earth and in simulations, but nothing like this. Survival now depended on intellect, strategy, and an understanding of alien psychology. The chamber doors opened with a hiss, revealing a line of council emissaries. They were taller, more imposing than Zyla, and their skin shimmered in complex patterns of color and light. Alex felt a shiver, but he forced himself to stand tall. Humans could intimidate through courage and composure, even when outmatched physically. Dr. Carter, the lead counselor said, its voice resonating like a musical chord. We observe your interference with the ritual. Explain yourself. Alex stepped forward, keeping his tone calm and confident. I have stabilized the patients using a method that mimics the ritual's energy flow. It preserves life, avoids unnecessary union, and demonstrates that human ingenuity can achieve what tradition prescribes, without literal execution. A ripple of color moved through the counselor's skin, a sign of agitation or surprise. Alex couldn't be sure. One of them spoke, voice sharp. Impossible. The ritual is unbroken. How can a human replicate the flow? Alex held up his device, the small tool recording energy pulses and their adjustments. Through observation, calculation, and adaptation, the system follows predictable patterns. Humans have always survived by finding solutions others overlook. We improvise under pressure. We think logically and creatively. And that is what saved these patients. Zyla hovered beside him. H. She added softly. The chamber felt heavier than before, the hum of energy now accompanied by the tension of expectation. Dr. Alex Carter stood beside Zyla, observing the three patients whose translucent forms pulsed steadily. They were alive, stabilized, but the council's scrutiny was far from over. Every flicker, every movement was being monitored. Failure now could erase all the progress Alex had made. Zyla's glow shone softly beside him. The council still doubts, she said quietly. They believe humans succeed only by luck, not understanding. They need proof of skill and intellect. Alex nodded. Humans survived by demonstrating capability, not relying on assumption. Then we show them everything, he said, step by step. They will see the method, understand the logic, and witness the results. Evidence convinces where tradition fails. Together, Alex and Zyla began. He carefully explained the energy flows, pointing to patterns and conduits, while Zyla translated his reasoning into forms the council could perceive: visual pulses, frequency adjustments, and alignment of energy. Every detail was precise, every step deliberate. This is human ingenuity, Alex said. We survive not because we follow orders blindly, but because we adapt. We observe, calculate, and act. That is why I have stabilized these patients without completing your ritual. A counselor's glowing patterns flickered rapidly, surprise, curiosity, and caution mixed together. Another counselor approached a patient, scanning the energy conduits with precise attention. Alex held his breath, knowing that one misstep or hesitation could undo everything. Explain how your method preserves life, the lead counselor demanded, its tone sharp and commanding. Alex stepped closer, using his device to project the energy flows in a visible pattern. The energy flows in predictable rhythms, he explained. The ritual assumes union is required to direct it, but observation and calculation show that timing, pattern, and balance are the keys. Humans use knowledge, analysis, and adaptation to achieve the same result, without following every rigid rule. The counselors exchanged glowing signals, their communication rapid and complex. Alex waited, standing tall, trusting in his preparation and human adaptability. Humans survived under pressure, yes, but they thrived because they turned constraints into opportunities. One counselor moved forward, placing its luminescent hand over the largest patient. Energy pulses shifted slightly, and Alex watched closely. He adjusted the conduits, carefully modulating the flow to maintain stability. The patient's glow steadied further, responding perfectly to the subtle intervention. Remarkable, Zyla whispered. Even the council cannot predict your adjustments. Alex smiled faintly. That's the advantage of humans. We think, improvise, and adapt. When the unexpected happens, we find a way. The counselors paused, their glowing forms shifting in discussion. Slowly, the lead counselor turned to Alex. You have demonstrated skill, understanding, and control. Yet how can we be certain this method works consistently? Alex gestured to the third patient, the weakest of the three. Watch closely. I will stabilize this one entirely. Observe each adjustment, each response, and you will see that life can be preserved without ritual union. He focused on the patient, his hands steady, his mind alert. Zyla assisted, guiding him where needed. But it was Alex's human intuition and problem-solving that directed every step. The energy flows flickered, threatening to destabilize, but he adapted immediately, modulating frequencies, balancing pulses, and redirecting conduits with precision. Minutes passed like hours. The room was silent except for the hum of energy and the soft clicks of Alex's device. Then finally, the third patient's glow stabilized completely. Its pulses synchronized perfectly with the others, radiating a steady, harmonious light. The chamber went silent. Even Zyla seemed to hold her breath. Alex straightened, his eyes on the council. It is done. All patients are stable. The method is effective. The ritual is unnecessary. A counselor stepped forward, scanning the stabilized patients. Its glow flickered slowly, the alien equivalent of contemplation. It works, it said finally. You succeeded where others would fail. Your species displays creativity and courage unmatched in our observations. Alex allowed himself a small smile. That is human nature. We survive by observing, analyzing, and adapting. We face challenges head-on and find solutions no one expects. Zyla floated closer to him, her glow brighter than before. You have proven more than skill, she said softly. You have shown that humans can be trusted, valued, even admired. I underestimated your kind. Alex nodded. Humans are underestimated often, but we survive, and sometimes we change minds along the way. The lead counselor's glow shifted to a steady blue, a sign of approval, rare among its kind. The council recognizes your success, it said. You have demonstrated not only survival but mastery. Tradition may be questioned. Humans are capable. Alex's heart lifted. This was more than personal survival. This was a triumph for humanity, proof that humans were clever, adaptable, and brave, even in situations no one else could manage. Zyla's eyes softened, a hint of pride in her gaze. Perhaps your species can teach us resilience, creativity, and courage. Humans have potential beyond our expectations. Alex smiled faintly. We do more than survive. We adapt, solve problems, and inspire others. That is what makes humans human. The counselors began to leave the chamber, their glowing forms fading down the hallways. Alex and Zyla were left alone with the patients, the hum of stabilized energy a soothing rhythm. You've done it, Zyla said quietly. You've turned danger into opportunity, threat into triumph. Your species truly is remarkable. Alex nodded, exhaustion and satisfaction mixing in his chest. It wasn't easy. But humans survive by thinking, not by following blindly. We thrive by adapting. Zyla's glow shimmered softly. Perhaps there is hope for cooperation between our species. You have shown that humans can solve problems. Others cannot. Alex looked at the stabilized patients, then at Zyla, and finally out the chamber's viewport into the stars. This is only the beginning. Humans survive, yes, but we also inspire, and sometimes that changes the universe. The hum of the chamber seemed to echo his words, a steady reminder of life, adaptability, and triumph. The deadly choice had been met, and humanity had not only survived, it had excelled. In that moment, Dr. Alex Carter understood the full meaning of human ingenuity. Strength was not in size, not in power, but in courage, intelligence, and the will to never give up, even when the odds seemed impossible. And in the quiet glow of the chamber, with Zyla by his side and the council's recognition behind him, humanity's place among the stars had grown just a little stronger. The chamber was quiet now, save for the gentle hum of stabilized energy. Dr. Alex Carter stood beside Zyla, watching the 3 alien patients float peacefully in their pods. Their translucent bodies glowed evenly. No flickers, no instability. Life had been preserved. Humanity had survived. But the victory was more than personal. It was proof. Proof that humans were not fragile, that they could think, adapt, and solve problems even in the most extreme situations. And the council had witnessed it all. Zyla's silver skin shimmered softly beside him. You have done more than survive, she said quietly. You have shown courage, intelligence, and skill. Perhaps your species deserves a new place in the galaxy. Alex nodded, feeling a warmth he hadn't expected. The admiration in her eyes was subtle, but real. Humans survive, yes, he said. But we also learn, teach, and inspire. That is what sets us apart. Zyla tilted her head. Then, perhaps we can build something together. Not as ruler and subject, not as master and servant, but as allies. Your species has much to offer. Alex smiled. Allies. That's the best way forward. The doors to the chamber hissed open. Council emissaries returned, their glowing, patterns calmer than before. The lead counselor spoke, its tone deliberate but not harsh. Dr. Carter, your demonstration has proven humans are capable. Your ingenuity is undeniable. You have stabilized life where others would fail. Alex bowed his head slightly. Thank you. Humans survive by observing, adapting, and acting. That is our strength. But I am not alone here. Zyla has guided and helped me. Cooperation is key. The Counselors exchanged signals, their colors shifting with discussion. Finally, the lead counselor spoke again. Your species earns recognition. We will observe and learn from you, and perhaps work with you in the future. Alex allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. Recognition from a species as disciplined and tradition-bound as Xyla's was no small achievement. Humanity had earned respect, not through brute force, but through intellect, courage, and adaptability. Xyla floated closer, her glow brighter. You have not only saved lives, she said. You have changed perceptions. My people will remember this day. They may not admit it openly, but your species will be valued. Alex looked at the stabilized patients again. We humans survive. Yes, but we also show that survival can be clever, thoughtful, and principled. Life is preserved not just by following rules, but by understanding them and knowing when to adapt. Xyla nodded. And you have shown that humans do so naturally. Perhaps the galaxy will be safer with your kind in it. A subtle smile touched Alex's lips. We don't just survive, we inspire. And sometimes, inspiration changes minds, cultures, and even worlds. The counselors began to leave the chamber, their glowing forms fading down the hallways. Alex and Xyla were